We begin with Judge Jeanine Pirro, the 5 co-hosts.
Oh, yeah. AOC came out and said articles of impeachment against the U.S. Supreme Court, which is awesome. I'm glad that she's saying shit like that.
Judge, great to have you here. I've been watching you throughout the morning. First, I want to get your reaction as we do continue to hear from members of Congress, as obviously the political fallout of this we have yet to fully see. She plans to file articles of impeachment, Judge. Here's the tweet. Throw it up on the screen. The Supreme Court has become consumed by a corruption crisis beyond its control, she writes. Today's ruling represents an assault on American democracy.
You know, you were talking about how Dick Durbin is going to do something. Dick Durbin and Hakeem Jeffries are going to kill her. They're going to be like, all right, shut the fuck up, AOC. That's what they're going to do. They're going to attack... Democrats, in many respects, are very similar to Israel. They don't know, they only got one speed, which is when in doubt, attack the left. Okay? And that's what they're going to do. Like, literally, that's all Israel does. When in doubt, attack Palestinians. They're like, what happened? Iran is attacking us. Attack the Palestinians harder. Okay? Kill more Palestinian children. And the Democratic Party only has one speed. Just fucking do nothing when the Republicans are going crazy. And then maybe like someone who's remotely progressive will, I don't know, say some shit. A person that's like a little bit more progressive than the broader Democratic Party politicians will like chirp for a brief moment, and then they'll turn around and you know, set their crosshairs on her or him.
Now it's up to Congress to defend our nation from this authoritarian capture, she writes. I intend on filing articles of impeachment upon our return. To you, Judge.
You know, Sandra, whenever anyone on the left talks about an assault against democracy, you know that it has little, if any, meaning. That's their go-to line when they don't have a substantive argument. Look, our government is set up in a way that there are 3 branches. The Supreme Court...
Yeah. Dude, I'm sure Judge Jeanine would have this kind of attitude towards the Supreme Court if it was a 6-3 supermajority liberal Supreme Court that was like, I don't know, making it legal to be gay or something. Like striking down fucking all of the anti-trans healthcare regulation, things of that nature. Yeah, I'm sure she'd be like, listen, we have 3 branches for a reason. For a reason. You're gonna like what the Supreme Court has to say. You're gonna shut up and you're gonna like it.
Is a branch that has final decision on legal decisions in this country. They are not willing to accept it if it doesn't align with their political ideology. And this is part of the institutional breakdown of our government. We are now in a scenario where the left and the people who call themselves progressive are not willing to accept a 6-3 decision by the Supreme Court. But make no mistake, there have been administrations there.
Bro, she's saying 6-3 decision, like 6 of them aren't Republican. Like as though there's like liberal justices that weighed in on it. You know what I mean? It's a 6-3 decision. Yeah, we know. We know it's 6-3. What the fuck? Like this kind of, they're compromised.
Politicians who have been in disagreement with decisions for the last 150 years. But now, all of a sudden, they think they should be able to impeach a Supreme Court justice. Look, a lawyer can be brought before the grievance committee for trashing a Supreme Court justice. And the sad part about all of this is there is a final ruling in this case. Their hatred for Donald Trump, their political ideology that causes them to support someone ideologically or cognitively declined is something that they consider paramount, and they're willing to do anything to destroy our system.
Yeah, I know. I said SEAL Team 6 already. Commander-in-Chief clause called Trump a threat to national security. All of that would be permissible in the scope of this decision. Yes. She's slurring. Yeah, bro. She's zooted. She's always drinking, dude. She's drunk as fuck.
Well, Judge, the timing of this decision has really allowed the Biden campaign to turn the page on the aftermath of the debate. And
she off the bean. She off the twisted teas.
Campaign call that we listened in on where former Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn, who's now part of the Biden campaign, spoke to this. Listen to what he said.
Okay.
My message today is simple. This is not a drill. Donald Trump is the single greatest threat to the United States of America in a generation. We can't let him anywhere near the Oval Office again. We can't count on the Supreme Court or any institution to hold him responsible. It's going to be up to the voters in November.
Well,
Go ahead. What's the response to that?
My first response is, if this guy was a member of law enforcement, I feel terrible for anyone that had contact with him. Number two, he's a former officer. Number three, explain why Donald Trump is ahead in so many states, and especially those swing states that are so important. Look, these people have a big mouth. They speak about things that the American people are not aligned with. And when the United States Supreme Court makes a decision...
No, the American people are so aligned with the president having like complete immunity from prosecution. Like every American's like, I love that. Thank you. That's for me. After all, I might be a president one day and I would like to do some illegal shit when I'm president. That's what they're saying. This is so stupid. Yeah, just like the American population was like, I want to make sure that my water is polluted by the corporation with the most amount of money, with the best legal team that can now hold up any kind of regulatory agency with mountains of fucking paperwork, okay, with mountains of litigation. That's what I want. I want to make sure that my water is perfectly lead poison. I want to make sure that there's so much PFAS in my water, so much microplastic in my water. It's not just in my balls. It's just pouring out of every orifice. That's what I would like. Please. I love lead. Yum. I love asbestos. Bring that shit back. America used to be a country. We used to have asbestos. We don't anymore because of this gay ass regulatory agency taking that shit away from us. I don't want microplastics. I want macroplastics. Exactly. That's what I want. That's what I demand. And I'm so glad that the Supreme Court is making these sorts of decisions that defend my interests. Okay? That's what I like. Also, the abortion thing. That's another one. That's another good one. I love the notion that 50% of the country just cannot get this perfectly valid, perfectly normal medical procedure because a bunch of freaks decided that it should be held to the states. It should actually go back to the states, and that it shouldn't be a decision between a woman and her doctor. It should be a decision made between a woman or doctor and the Supreme Court, or, you know, whatever the local legislator is that has decided that this should be illegal, actually. It's pretty cool. Love that. Every American loves that. Thank you.
Important is this one. The Supreme Court speaking for the first time because no other president has ever been criminally indicted for actions while in office. It's about time we listened.
I want to read just a little bit from the majority opinion written by Justice Roberts. The president is entitled at a minimum to a presumptive immunity from prosecution for all his official acts. That immunity applies equally to all occupants of the Oval Office, regardless of politics.
Bro,
policy.
I'm telling you, Roberts is literally winking at Brandon. That's what he's doing. Okay? He's winking at Brandon. He's like, that immunity applies equally to all occupants of the Oval Office, Brandon. Get the SEAL Team 6 ready, boys. We're going. Not the fucking Korengal Valley. We're going to MAGAville, baby. Send the Black Hawk helicopters to Mar-a-Lago yesterday. Okay? That's what he's saying. He's like, come on, dog. Do the thing. Do what must be done.
Or party. Will Sharp, member of President Trump's legal team, joined me earlier on the Faulkner Focus with his response to all of it.
They've recognized a very broad doctrine of criminal immunity for former presidents. I think there are some choice paragraphs in there from Chief Justice Roberts criticizing the haste with which this prosecution has proceeded. The Biden campaign of lawfare against President Trump has just been dealt a decisive blow by the U.S. Supreme Court.
Really interesting part of that, Judge.
Yeah. Well,
Dude, Republicans are literally just fucking such donkeys, dude. Look at this. Look at this. 74% of independents, immunity for former presidents, Trump v. United States. Some people think that the former presidents are not immune from criminal prosecution for actions they took while president. and so can be criminally prosecuted for such actions. Other people think that former presidents are immune from criminal prosecution. What do you think? Okay. Out of all respondents, 26.5% said presidents should be immune or are immune. Okay. That was 10% of Democrats, 26% of independents, and of course, 45% of Republicans. 45% I mean, look, the point is 73.6% of Americans said, of course not. Of course the president is not immune. But like, what do you say to this? What do you say to this? These guys are like straight up monarchists, dude. They literally just want a God king. God, they're so fucking... God, I hate Republicans so much. It's just like my hatred for Republicans. This election cycle, now the hogs are trickling back into this space. And I'm very excited because they've been gone for so long that it's just like the only hogs that I have to deal with are like the annoying, smarmy liberals. But also simultaneously, my hatred for them grows every fucking day. I mean, it never went away, but like it just comes back to the forefront every single time I have to hear some dumb shit from these fucking animals, okay? Yeah, ironic that the monarchists are named Republicans. Ironic, but it's true.
The fact is that the Supreme Court also attacked not just Jack Smith. I mean, this is a court that has ruled against him unanimously in the past. He is not considered an ethical prosecutor. He's the one who indicted the former governor of Virginia. That case was overturned. He has a political agenda. But what I think is so significant about the Supreme Court's decision is not the final recognition that when a president is engaging in official acts that involve core essential presidential duties, he has absolute immunity. And then, of course, it's remanded to the lower court to determine what are official versus unofficial acts. And for official acts, he has presumptive immunity. But they knocked down some of the indictment. They knocked down some of the arguments that the president isn't entitled to speak to his vice president or to the attorney general because the president has exclusive jurisdiction and authority over those particular issues as they relate to the Department of Justice and crimes that are being prosecuted. The Supreme Court made it very clear that there are some parts of this that are protected by the court.
I can't wait for Maoist Liberal Liberation Front starting up when Trump gets elected and starts executive action the fuck out of the libs while they scream at the left for protesting a fucking genocide there. Yeah, I mean, they're going to do that. I already told you. That's the only speed the liberals have, which is like they can't really get mad at Republicans too much because like they're just going to do what they're going to do. And then they're getting their messaging from the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party is always so unimaginably incompetent. So they're just going to look for anyone to get mad at, which will be the left. The left didn't vote for Biden, so you're responsible for this. And it's like, dude, this is happening under Biden. Like, it's happening under Biden. It's been happening. It's been happening for years. This is like far before Biden became president. Okay. Oh, I don't just want like a Democrat. Okay. I don't want just like Democrat to run and win. I want like someone who will actually roll back the things that the Trump administration did, okay, instead of leaning into it. That is what the expectation should be from all Democrats, from all voters for the Democratic Party. It's so fucking stupid. Where are you, a DMV for rich people? Yeah, I'm at a DMV for rich people.
The Supreme Court ruled on Monday that former presidents are entitled to immunity from federal prosecution for official acts, a landmark decision that has major ramifications for former President Donald Trump. The ruling was declared taking special counsel Jack Smith's case against Trump in Washington, D.C. in mind. This ruling has made some specific determinations about what conduct alleged in Smith's indictment cannot be brought to trial. The majority left much of the decision making up to U.S. District Court Judge Tanya Chutkan, who is overseeing the case. Tanya will have to decide whether much of the alleged conduct in the indictment was official or unofficial in nature. Trump faces a second federal case in Florida related to classified documents and state charges in Georgia dealing with the 2020 election. He was also convicted on state charges in New York in May and faces sentencing next week. The court did not address those cases in its decision, and the potential impact on each is less clear. He had pleaded not guilty on all charges.
constitutional right of a president. And let me also say that a couple days ago, the Supreme Court rendered a decision kind of dumbing down some of the January 6 charges, saying that they were not supported. And now some of the lower courts have to look at not just the January 6 defendants, but Donald Trump as well, in terms of how the Supreme Court attacked that January 6 obstruction charge.
Judge, I just want to sort of circle back to where we started, which was with AOC calling for articles of impeachment following this ruling. And you had heard ahead of this decision.
Yeah, she's like, Janine, get back to shitting on AOC. You've been talking about some other shit.
Top Democrats, Chuck Schumer among them, asking for Justices Alito and Thomas to recuse themselves from this case, making allegations about impartiality questions. What kind of an impact does it have when you have our elected leaders sort of questioning the credibility of the...
Can you explain the theory behind not voting for Dems in this election? Bro, I don't care. Go vote for the Democrat. Go vote for Joe Brandon. I'm not telling you not to vote for him. Now, the primaries are entirely different, okay? Abso-fucking-lutely not. But if you want to vote for Joe Brandon, go ahead. Vote illegally, okay? Vote fucking harder. Vote harder. I'm sure we're going to save the country, okay? Do it. Have fun with it. I've never been anti-voting in general. I love voting. I think you should do more of it. You should do it illegally. Work for your money. Republicans on top, you bum. It's the funniest part about shit like this is that, dude, I've made it. Okay, the Republicans at this point literally help me out. Okay, they don't help you out. And you're engaging in team sports. It's like, okay, tax cuts for the wealthy come. That's good for me, technically. It's not good for me in the long run because I want a fucking healthy, normal country. I want a country where there's like actually some kind of parity, some kind of equity. But, yeah, I want good roads and not as much of the tax dollars to go to like American wars in Israel and the domestic military force that is the police force. I want to pay teachers instead. So yeah, it's not, in my best interest, but immediately if you're thinking about it, like that shit's not helping you. Okay? It's so dumb. I want healthcare. I want houses for the homeless. You can fucking Trump 2024 baby your way out of this all day, every day, but ultimately it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. Just like Democrats fucking act like voting for Brandon is going to fucking, somehow give them some kind of moral victory. It's not. Look at the past 4 years. What do we get?
The board.
Well, I think it has a huge impact, and I think that the Supreme Court has of late been subject to tremendous criticism. And I think that, there's a reason that our founding fathers wanted these justices to serve for life. I mean, they should not be affected by the mob or by the criticisms or the attempts to impeach. And I think that more than anything, they recognize how important their job is. In this case, Gorsuch...
Are you saying nothing's been done in the last 4 years as far as all the broad agenda items that the Brandon administration put forward that they were going to follow through on? They all got neutered by fucking the literal Democrats, okay? Centrist Democrats, right-wing Democrats. And that's the successful legislation. Much of the legislative agenda was completely cast aside, if not immediately turned on. The first 100 days immigration promises were literally reversed. The Brandon administration effectively continued Donald Trump's immigration agenda. And on top of that, is now trying to do a last-ditch effort to push for a right-wing immigration policy. All the while, civil liberties are effectively neutered at the state legislature level. And they're contested in the court system, but the courts are completely fucking dominated by Republican judges because they court pack like a motherfucker all the way up to the Supreme Court where it really matters. And you're over here talking about like, wow, what do you mean? Lesser evil voting is great, okay? It sounds great on paper, okay? In theory, it sounds like it's a morally infallible strategy, but lesser evil voting has openly created a cycle where the Democrats don't even roll back some of the Republican agenda, but instead adopt it entirely, and sometimes push the needle in the rightward direction like they're doing with immigration right now is crazy. The expectation shouldn't be to just simply put a 4-year pause on the right-wing tilt in this country. The expectation should be claw back with the same veracity the Republicans claw back social progress and civil liberties and the like whenever they're in power. Nowadays, they don't even need to be in power to fucking claw that shit back. They just use state legislatures to claw that shit back.
He said it himself. It's not just about the case before us. This is a case for the ages. And they knew that. And that's what the decision reflects.
Such a great point. All great points, Judge. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the 5 tonight.
I'll be there.
Okay.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
President Biden's attempts to reassure supporters and really all Americans after his stumbling, at times vacant debate performance last week. The president did appear more energized at a rally on prompter and at some weekend fundraisers. But a CBS News poll shows that voters, not the media, but voters have serious concerns. Nancy Cordes is at the White House with new reporting on all of it. Nancy, good morning. What are you hearing?
It's been a busy weekend, Tony. President Biden spent the day yesterday with family at Camp David, and we're told that they encouraged him to stay in the race. Biden officials spent the weekend on the phone trying to reassure worried lawmakers and donors. They told them that they understand their concerns, but that there are no plans with just 4 months to go to change the campaign strategy or the candidate.
Joe Biden is our nominee. Joe Biden is our leader.
Top Democrats closed ranks around the president Sunday as a slew of editorials from some of the nation's largest newspapers called on him to drop out.
I want to remind everybody that one debate does not define a person's record.
Very clearly, he should stay in this race.
And yet a new CBS poll finds Thursday's rocky performance did take a toll.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare,
72% of voters now believe Biden does not have the mental and cognitive health to serve as president, up from 65% before the debate. Nearly half of Democrats said he should step aside as the nominee, while virtually no elected Democrats have been willing to go that far on the record. Some acknowledged the panic publicly.
There are a lot of lingering concerns, Alex. We can't put on a happy face on this.
There are very honest and serious and rigorous conversations taking place at every level of our party.
Top Biden officials still haven't explained why Biden seemed to struggle the way he did on Thursday. But they tell CBS News they are staying the course. Nothing has changed. We are full steam ahead, one said. We still believe Biden is the best position to beat Trump. They point to his energetic post-debate campaign stops in Atlanta, Raleigh, and New York.
I give you my word as a Biden, I would not be running again if I didn't believe with all my heart and soul I can do this job. Because quite frankly...
I mean, this is the Edinger Momentum analysis, right, in play, which is that voters know Brandon is old as shit, old as dirt, and the liberals that are like invested, committed to the Democratic Party are not going to turn around and be like, oh, well, he's too old now. They know he was old. They know he's even older now than he was before, and they don't give a shit. And that is like the MAGA base, but for the Democratic Party. And much like Donald Trump, Joe Biden is relying on that base, the blue and on, to be like, listen, we still have people. We still got people. Fuck it. Who cares?
The stakes are too high.
Part of the calculus for the Biden team and other Democrats is that there's no guarantee an alternate candidate would do better against Trump than Biden would. Recent polling being disseminated by the Biden campaign indicates that those candidates would fare the same or worse than Biden. Even the process of choosing a different nominee this late in the game is fraught with uncertainty. And so, Gail, there are risks either way.
All right, some people want to take the risk, though. Nancy, thank you very much.
Fallout from President Biden's performance in last week's debate. Over the weekend, Biden's team scrambled to contain the damage. Some Democrats are calling for the president to step aside.
We covered this yesterday for those of you who weren't in, but I watched one by one all of the least likable, all of the oldest and the worst brain having Democrats come up on Sunday TV on all the shows and launch the perhaps worst fucking defense for Joseph Robinette Biden. Okay. They literally came out as like fucking Jim Clyburn, who's old as shit himself, Nancy Pelosi, the oldest person on the planet, John Fetterman, bad brain in a different way. Okay. They were all like, no, you don't understand. Biden is doing great. He's a young whippersnapper. Better than ever. Yeah. And now Democrats want to nominate Biden ASAP. That's awesome. Democrats weigh in early Biden nom to squash talk of a swap. Dude, they're doing literally the most Democratic Party shit. It's awesome. They are demonstrating the absolute worst political instincts. The threat is maximum copium. Oh, yeah, I have this. Don't worry. I have this lined up right here. Urgent scientists work at Havana. Talking about how it's a Havana syndrome. The Havana syndrome's our boy.
Candidate. Rachel Scott is tracking it all. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, George, good morning to you. Look, there is no way around this. It has been a rough 72 hours for President Biden after that debate. His campaign is eager to turn the page, making calls to donors and Democrats, but the questions about his age and mental fitness have not gone away.
This morning, the Biden campaign is scrambling to dismiss doubts about the 81-year-old president, pushing ahead with his re-election campaign after the debate that many Democrats have labeled disastrous.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Biden's campaign team making it clear that the president will not step aside, telling allies in a memo obtained by ABC News that Biden got off to a slow start, but then drew a sharp contrast with Trump on the issues that matter most to voters, and arguing to supporters that if Biden were to drop out now, it would lead to weeks of chaos, internal food fighting, and a highway to losing to Donald Trump. Some of Biden's top allies insisting one bad night will not derail his campaign.
Let us not make a judgment about a presidency on one debate. Let's talk about what it means to people in their lives.
He knows, as the American people do, that when you get knocked down, you get back up and you fight harder. That's what he's planning to do.
But Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin admitting there are honest and serious conversations happening within the party.
There was a big problem with Joe Biden's debate performance. There are very honest and serious and rigorous conversations taking place at every level of our party.
The president heading to Camp David for the weekend as the New York Times editorial board called for him to step aside, insisting continuing his campaign would be a reckless gamble given the significant threat Trump poses, adding, the greatest public service Mr. Biden can now perform is to announce that he will not continue to run for re-election. But Biden himself has made it clear he's not going anywhere.
I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong. And I know how to do this job.
Yeah, the crowd at that rally chanting, yes, you can. Dr. Joe Biden, who was on this month's cover of Vogue, told the magazine this weekend they will not let those 90.
That's crazy, by the way. What the fuck are we doing? First Lady Jill Biden, we will decide our future. She's literally like, she's signaling. She's like, yeah, I will decide your future. Okay, I'm holding the strings of power in my hand.
Trump is accused of overseeing a sprawling effort to subvert the 2020 election, including 2 counts of conspiring to obstruct the certification of the election results, conspiring to defraud the government, and conspiring to disenfranchise voters. Among the accusations, Trump spread false claims of election fraud, plotted to recruit fake slates of electors, pressured U.S. Justice Department officials to open sham investigations into election fraud, and pressured his Vice President Mike Pence to obstruct Congress's certification of Joe Biden's win. To determine whether Trump's alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 election results were official acts, the Supreme Court remanded the case back to the presiding U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, who will have to review the indictment line by line. The review will be done under a 3-part test: whether particular conduct in a is a core presidential function that carries absolute immunity, an official act within the outer perimeter of the presidency that carries presumptive immunity, or an unofficial act that carries no immunity. To defeat presumptive immunity, the opinion said, Chutkan would have to decide if charging Trump would pose any danger of intrusion on the authority and functions of the executive branch. The court left the analysis up to Chutkan, but Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for the majority, preemptively determined that Trump's interaction with Justice Department officials were official acts because they are part of the executive branch and answer to the president. Roberts also determined that Trump's interaction with Pence were presumptively immune, since the president discussing responsibilities with the vice president was an instance of official conduct. The burden was on prosecutors to prove otherwise, Roberts wrote. And on the matter of Trump's remark on January 6, Roberts wrote that they too were probably protected, since presidential addresses were an integral function of the office, but the opinion also allowed that in Trump's case, it may be appropriate to categorize his speech as that of candidate for office. If you found this video informative, then make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and thanks for watching.